A small house on Denver Drive in the southwest side of Indianapolis concealed a tragedy that lasted 127 days. A 5-year-old girl lost her life due to severe malnutrition after being neglected for too long.
She was kept in a closet for 5 months, 20 hours a day. She was taped to her bed at times.
Kinsleigh died in April of 2024. She weighed only 21 pounds, less than what she weighed when she was 2.
And those who once lived with her are now facing life imprisonment without the possibility of parole.
Kinsleigh's mother, Toni McClure, was convicted of child abuse in 2018.
At the center of this story is little Kinsleigh Welty. Born on December 3, 2018, in the city of Indianapolis, the beloved daughter of Toni McClure and Bradley Welty. With her bright blue eyes, golden hair, and chubby cheeks, Kinsleigh was the very picture of joy and innocence. She loved making people laugh, often hiding her dad's hat just to tease him. Her greatest joy was singing "You Need to Calm Down" by Taylor Swift with her grandparents, watching her favorite children's shows like Paw Patrol and Bubble Guppies, and dressing up as her favorite characters. Every moment with her family was filled with laughter and love. Had life continued in that peaceful rhythm, Kinsleigh might have grown up like any other child, safe in the arms of those who loved her. But fate chose a different path for her, one where innocence was tested by unexpected tragedy. Sadly for Kinsleigh, the chain of tragedy began almost from her very first days of life. When she was only 3 weeks old, her family called emergency services, claiming that her mother, Toni, was having a health issue. But when officers arrived, what they saw inside the house went far beyond anything they had encountered before. The home was in complete chaos, piles of trash everywhere, a stench of mold and filth filling the air. The kitchen and living room floors were crawling with flies and insects. Furniture was old and stained, the sofa and mattresses filthy, and the bathroom was in an appalling state of neglect, with a toilet that looked as if it had never been cleaned. Amid this scene lay a tiny baby, Kinsleigh, just 3 weeks old, curled up on a floor covered with trash and cigarette ash. Nearby was her 1-year-old sibling, crawling around in the same unsanitary conditions. Only a few steps away, there were overflowing ashtrays, spoiled food, and even dangerous items scattered around. It was nothing short of a miracle that the 2 children were still alive in such an environment. Officers quickly realized that Kinsleigh was suffering from severe malnutrition, her skin pale, lips cracked, her small body frail and weak. When they handed her a bottle, the newborn drank desperately, as if she hadn't been fed properly for days. Right at the scene, both parents were arrested. Toni McClure faced 4 counts related to child neglect, while Bradley Welty was charged with 2. In the end, Toni pleaded guilty to 1 charge as part of a plea deal, the others dismissed, and she was sentenced to 900 days in jail. However, what truly outraged the public was that Toni spent only 21 days behind bars before being released on probation, a decision that would unknowingly set off a chain of systemic failures, ultimately leading to an unthinkable fate for little Kinsleigh. During Toni's brief time in custody, Kinsleigh and her siblings were placed in a temporary care program. The foster mother who took Kinsleigh in was a kind-hearted woman who loved and cared for the little girl as if she were her own, even expressing a desire to adopt her permanently. For a brief moment, it seemed as though fate had finally given Kinsleigh a brighter path, a chance to grow up in real love and safety. However, That fragile glimmer of hope was soon extinguished. After some time, Kinsleigh was moved to live with her paternal grandparents, Tricia and Brian Welty, who deeply loved her and wanted nothing more than to protect their granddaughter. But because of Indiana's family reunification policy, designed to keep children close to their biological parents, Kinsleigh was sent back to live with her mother, Toni, after she was released. What appeared to be a well-intentioned decision would tragically become a turning point in the little girl's life. Over the following years, the Department of Child Services, DCS, also known as CPS, intervened multiple times, removing Kinsleigh from the unsafe environment, only to return her to Toni after each brief evaluation. Every time, warning signs were documented, reports were filed, yet everything was quietly dismissed. During her second stay with her grandparents, they discovered bruises and minor injuries on Kinsleigh's body, her hair falling out in patches, her clothes filthy, and her face thin and weary from neglect. Terrified, they pleaded with authorities to step in, warning that their granddaughter could be in danger if returned again. But once more, their voices went unheard. The investigation was poorly conducted, the evidence weak, and in the end, the judge ordered that Kinsleigh be reunited with Toni once again. By that time, her biological father, Bradley Welty, had already left their lives, leaving Kinsleigh solely in the hands of a mother repeatedly deemed unfit to care for her.
She would be alive today if they would have left her in my care. And that's exactly where she should have been.
After being released, Toni began a new life with her boyfriend, 27-year-old Ryan Smith, who had moved in about 7 months before everything happened. By March 2023, Toni had given birth to another baby, bringing the total number of small children living in that cramped and chaotic house to 6. According to Ryan, his relationship with Kinsleigh was not easy. The little girl often kept her distance because he wasn't her biological father, which made the atmosphere in the home increasingly tense. Small conflicts began to build up, and by Thanksgiving 2023, things had spiraled completely out of control. In a decision both cruel and incomprehensible, Toni forced her 5-year-old daughter to live isolated inside a small closet located in her brother's bedroom. The door was barricaded with a large dresser, preventing Kinsleigh from getting out. The terrifying truth is that this was not a temporary punishment. It became the little girl's forced living space for the next 127 days. Imagine a space smaller than a bathroom, where the air was heavy and stagnant, and the walls were covered with traces of daily struggle and the faint handprints of a child desperately trying to call for help. On the floor of that tiny closet, the scene was heartbreaking. A few empty plastic containers, a dried-up peanut butter sandwich, and another one already covered in mold. All silent witnesses to the deprivation and loneliness Kinsleigh endured. In that dark, suffocating space, she spent nearly all the final months of her life, alone, in silence, in darkness, and in constant hunger. It is believed that Kinsleigh begged for food and pleaded to be let out many times. She had pounded on the door with all her little strength, calling for help. But her cries were never answered. Her mother ignored her, while others in the house gradually became numb to the faint, desperate sounds coming from behind that wooden door. Ryan Smith later admitted that during that entire period, Kinsleigh was allowed out only about 10 times. Her 4-year-old brother described the closet as a cage, saying he felt sad watching his sister kept inside it. Another child, 6 years old, said that while the others were only punished by standing in a corner, Kinsleigh was always forced back into that dark space. Her mother admitted that the little girl's last words were often, "I'm hungry, I'm thirsty." But those pleas were met with silence. Some days she was given a small amount of food, other days, nothing at all. Kinsleigh's siblings told investigators that whenever the family ordered pizza, she was always left out because she was considered bad. She slept on the bare floor, with no blanket or mattress, having to fend for her most basic needs inside that confined space. By April 2024, at just 5 years old, Kinsleigh weighed only about 21 pounds, the average weight of a 2.5-year-old. A healthy girl her age should have weighed around 40 pounds, and that difference said it all. But it wasn't just malnutrition or neglect. Her small body also bore clear signs of serious suffering. Bruises marked her face around her eyes and cheekbones. Her once soft golden hair had been cut short, matted, and tangled with dirt and insects. The skin around her abdomen showed sores caused by poor hygiene, and her tiny arms and legs were covered in marks from the filthy environment. Ryan Smith later admitted that he knew exactly what was happening, but did nothing. He said he had begged Tony to stop and even threatened to call emergency services, yet remained silent out of fear. Fear of losing Tony and fear that all the children would be taken away. A month before Kinsleigh's passing, Ryan confessed that he had cleaned out the closet after it became unbearable inside. But beyond that, he never fed her, never held her, and never tried to comfort her. His silence and the indifference of those around him condemned an innocent child to spend her final days in isolation and pain. But perhaps the person who sparked the most public outrage in this heartbreaking story was Kinsleigh's grandmother, 53-year-old Tammy Halsey. What shocked everyone was not only that she knew exactly what was happening, but that she actively participated in the mistreatment of her own granddaughter. According to the investigation files, during the summer of 2023, when Kinsleigh occasionally stayed overnight at Tammy's house, the woman used duct tape to tie the little girl's hands and feet, simply because she feared Kinsleigh would wake up in the middle of the night looking for food. At first, she only restrained her wrists and ankles, but when that didn't stop Kinsleigh, she escalated, wrapping the child's entire body in tape, an act that revealed a disturbing level of cruelty and lack of humanity. It didn't stop there. Tammy also helped Tony hide Kinsleigh from the Department of Child Services. Whenever social workers came to check on the family, Tammy would immediately alert her daughter and insist that Kinsleigh was somewhere else, even though she had seen with her own eyes how weak and frail the little girl had become. Just days before Kinsleigh's passing in early April 2024, Tammy had still taken her to family gatherings. But instead of letting her play with the other children, she forced her to stand facing the wall for hours as punishment. Even on April 8th, the day of the solar eclipse, an event most children looked forward to with excitement, Kinsleigh was made to stand silently in a corner, alone amid a house full of relatives. Then, on April 9th, 2024, workers from the Department of Child Services, DCS, commonly known as CPS, visited Tony's home for a routine inspection, this time triggered by one of the newborns in the house testing positive for the harmful substance THC. However, during the inspection, Tony hid Kinsleigh under a blanket in another room. When the social worker asked about her daughter, Tony calmly lied, saying that Kinsleigh was staying with her grandparents, a lie she later admitted was meant to conceal her child's true condition. Once again, The child protection system failed to fulfill its duty. Had they insisted on checking every room in the house, they might have found Kinsleigh and saved her from her final moments of despair. But that chance quietly slipped away. That same evening, around 5:15 p.m., an emergency call was made from a mobile home on Denver Drive, southwest of Indianapolis, reporting an unresponsive child. When authorities arrived at the scene, they found an unresponsive child inside the home on Denver Drive in Indianapolis. The first responders quickly realized it was 5-year-old Kinsleigh Welty, lying motionless on the living room floor. Paramedics attempted resuscitation and immediately transported her to Riley Children's Hospital. But despite their efforts, it was too late. Later that same day, Kinsleigh was pronounced gone. The autopsy report revealed clear signs of severe physical deterioration, concluding that the cause was extreme malnutrition and prolonged neglect. What broke everyone's hearts was that, at 5 years old, Kinsleigh weighed even less than she had at age 2. Inside the home, officers discovered a small closet in one of the bedrooms, with clear evidence showing it had been the place where she was forced to stay for an extended period. A large dresser had been pushed against the door, blocking her from getting out. Investigators confirmed that the closet had been deliberately barricaded, completely isolating the little girl. And perhaps the most heartbreaking truth of all is that while all she ever needed was a safe place to sleep and enough food to eat, she spent her final days suffering in darkness, inside the very home that was supposed to protect her. At first, Tony tried to deny any responsibility, offering a story seemingly meant to mislead investigators. She claimed that for the past 2.5 months, Kinsleigh had been living with her biological father, Bradley Welty, and that she had only picked her up that very morning at a McDonald's restaurant. According to Tony, about half an hour after they returned home, the little girl suddenly collapsed for no apparent reason. However, that statement quickly fell apart. Tony was unable to provide an address, phone number, or any proof that Kinsleigh had been with Bradley. Soon after, police confirmed that Bradley Welty had not seen his daughter in months. When a search warrant was executed and officers discovered the closet, the space that held the horrifying truth, Tony completely broke down. During questioning, she admitted that she had kept Kinsleigh living in that closet since Thanksgiving 2023. Tony also confessed that throughout that time, she had fed her daughter just enough to keep her alive, ignoring her repeated pleas for food and water. And perhaps the most chilling moment came when Tony coldly stated that she had once wished Kinsleigh had never been born. On April 15, 2024, Tony McClure was formally charged with 3 serious counts: deprivation of life, unlawful confinement resulting in severe harm, and endangering a child under the age of 14. During the first hearing at the Marion County Court, the judge read each charge aloud, while Tony stood with her head bowed in silence, her face almost completely devoid of emotion.
All right, Ms. McClure, good morning. I'm Judge Stoner. I'll be handling your case. You are here for your initial hearing. I'm here to tell you what the state has charged you with. I'll enter a not guilty plea for you, and I'll advise you of your rights. First, you should have a copy of the charges against you. Do you read well enough to be able to read those to yourself?
Yeah.
And in the upper left-hand corner, did they spell your name correctly? And how about your date of birth? December 20, 1994, is that correct? That makes you 29?
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. McClure, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the state's charged you with count 1 murder. That carries a potential penalty up to 65 years in prison. Court should further advise you that the state has filed an additional pleading on that murder count, requesting that you receive life imprisonment without parole. The murder charge would carry a maximum penalty up to 65 years. If at some point you're convicted of the murder charge, and if the state wishes to proceed further, if the state can prove aggravating circumstances that a jury or a trier of fact would have to find, you could be confined to the Department of Correction for the rest of your life. That's on count 1. On count 2, the state's charged you with criminal confinement as a level 3 felony. That carries a potential penalty of up to 16 years in prison. Count 3 is battery on a person less than 14 years old. That's a level 6 felony, and that carries a potential penalty of up to 2.5 years in prison. And Ms. McClure, all felonies carry fines of up to $10,000. As I indicated to you earlier, the court will enter an automatic plea of not guilty for you. That'll become a formal plea in 20 days unless you change your plea after you've had a chance to talk to a lawyer.
Ryan Smith, Tony's boyfriend, was also charged with 3 serious counts related to the neglect and unlawful confinement of a child. During the initial hearing, prosecutors stated that although Ryan did not directly inflict harm on Kinsleigh, he had known what was happening inside that house for months and still chose to remain silent.
Ryan Smith is here under 49D322404 F1010502. Mr. Smith, I'm Judge Stoner. I'll be handling your case at least through the end of the year. Mr. Smith, you're here for your initial hearing. I'm here to tell you what the state has charged you with. I'll advise you of your rights, and we'll give you a copy of the charges. First off, do you read well enough to be able to read those charges to yourself? You should have the charges right in front of you.
Yes, sir.
All right. In the upper left-hand corner, did they spell your name correctly?
Yes, sir.
And is your date of birth correct? September 25, 1996.
Yes, sir.
So, makes you what, 37?
No, yes, sir.
27. Bad math, okay. All right, Mr. Smith, if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see what the state has charged you with: neglect of a dependent resulting in death as a level 1 felony. Mr. Hill, in some situations, a level 1 felony can be increased to 50 years. It doesn't appear to be that situation in this one. Is that correct?
That's how it appears to me as well, Your Honor.
All right. So, Mr. Smith, in count 1, the state's charged you with neglect of a dependent resulting in death, a level 1 felony. That carries potential penalty of up to 40 years in prison. Count 2 is also neglect of a dependent resulting in death. That also carries potential penalty of up to 40 years in prison. Count 3 is neglect of a dependent resulting in death. Also carries potential penalty of up to 40 years in prison. Count 4 is criminal confinement. That's a level 3 felony. That carries a potential penalty of up to 16 years in prison. And Mr. Smith, all felonies carry fines of up to $10,000. Now, the court will enter an automatic plea of not guilty for you. That'll become a formal plea in 20 days, unless you change your plea after you've had a chance to talk to a lawyer.
Tammy Halsey, Kinsleigh's grandmother, was initially charged only with child neglect resulting in serious harm. However, everything changed when police obtained a series of Facebook messages exchanged between Tammy and her daughter, Tony McClure. These conversations revealed Tammy's far deeper involvement in the months-long pattern of abuse, leaving investigators stunned by the cold indifference between the two. Instead of showing concern or seeking to protect her granddaughter, they casually discussed ways to punish the little girl. Among the recovered messages were lines that outraged the public. "Do it like with the tape last time." "She almost pushed the door open." "She messed up the floor. It smells awful in there." "DCS is coming again." "Just wrap her up tightly." "Put something in front of the door so she can't push it open." These messages not only served as clear evidence of complicity, but also proved that Tammy had actively instructed and assisted Tony in keeping her granddaughter confined.
Between grandma and mom. So here we go. Tammy Halsey, it's the no sleep and have to work on Monday. Do your duct tape thing. Sleep. I won't ask again. Let's keep going there. Then in September, Kinsleigh has damn near got that door pushed open. And then grandma responds, tape her ass down. Oh, that's lovely. Let's listen to some more. Kinsleigh broke the lock on the door and the, bad word, was in her pants. She shoved under the couch. Tie her expletive ass up. This is sickening.
After the messages between Tammy and Tony were made public, prosecutors swiftly added 5 additional counts of neglect and 1 count of failure to report misconduct involving a child. At the same time, newly released court documents revealed that Tony McClure had previously been charged in December 2018 with child neglect, back when Kinsleigh was only 3 weeks old and had been reported to be developmentally delayed. Although the child's name in that earlier case was redacted, family members confirmed that it was indeed Kinsleigh. According to police reports from their inspection of the McClure home in Mooresville at that time, officers described it as one of the worst living conditions they had ever witnessed. Trash was piled high throughout the house, the air thick with the smell of mildew, and flies swarming across the kitchen and living room. In the bathroom, officials noted an appalling lack of sanitation. The toilet appeared not to have been cleaned for an extended period. The entire home was described as a living nightmare, hazardous even for adults, let alone for young children or infants. When these old records resurfaced in light of the 2024 case, the public's outrage grew even stronger, as it became clear that the system had once had the chance to prevent the tragedy, but instead allowed a fragile child to be sent back into a dangerous environment until the irreversible happened. When police first conducted a welfare check while Kinsleigh was just 3 weeks old, they found her trembling, weak, and showing clear signs of severe malnutrition. Doctors later confirmed that the newborn was in a state of exhaustion, having lost a significant amount of weight within her first 3 weeks of life. Court records noted that when Kinsleigh was taken to the hospital, there was still visible dirt on her head and tiny hands, evidence that she had not been properly cared for during her time at home. The incident led to Tony McClure being charged, and later, in May 2020, she pleaded guilty to 1 count of child neglect. However, her sentence was suspended, and Tony served just over 400 days of probation instead of any time in custody. Subsequent court documents revealed that authorities, particularly the Department of Child Services, DCS, had faced numerous challenges in monitoring and investigating the family. Over the years, multiple reports of neglect were filed, but most resulted in no concrete action. Part of the problem, according to records, was that DCS workers struggled to determine Kinsleigh's exact whereabouts during inspections, as Tony frequently moved and deliberately evaded supervision.
them to be released. You are free to go ahead and post that bond if you wish, but if you do, you still need to come back Thursday at 11 o'clock. One thing you should know as a practical matter, if the state decides not to file charges against you, or they file charges that are less than neglect of a dependent, where your bond would be automatically reduced, the bondsman doesn't have to give you the money back. It's up to you. I just want to make sure you know that as a practical matter. So I will see you on Thursday at 11 o'clock. We'll find out if the state's filing charges, and if they are, what those charges are. Okay? And I'll see you Thursday at 11.
Your Honor, this case is still under seal by state's motion order filed April 13th.
Mr. Hale,
Yes, Your Honor.
are you the prosecutor on this case?
It has not been assigned in our office. I am currently just representing our office at this time.
All right.
State would request that it remain under seal at this time.
And what's your statutory authority for that? I'm not aware of any statutory authority other than the defendant actually being placed into custody, and she clearly is in custody.
That's correct, Your Honor. Based on our motion filed, that was our reasoning. I don't believe I have any additional statutory authority at this time.
I've been busy doing other things, Mr. Hale, so I don't have your motion in front of me. So can you just give me the statutory site or the authority the state believes it has?
Well, Your Honor, the state, the matter is still under investigation. I believe they're still investigating other people who may be involved in this matter, and they still intend to make further arrests in this matter. So at this time, the state would request that it remains under seal for those purposes.
The state
Would it be fair to say that you don't have statutory authority for that?
I don't believe so, Your Honor. I believe it would be to protect the integrity of the case.
In the state's order, it's mentioned that it's until the defendant is taken into custody, so we'd have to have a new proposed order asking for something different from that.
Well, hang on, Mr. Connors. So
I'm
opening up the file now. In terms of Halsey, I'm looking at the motion to seal, which is dated April 13th. Is that the motion you're referring to, Mr. Hale? Or was there a subsequent request after she was taken into custody?
We just have that initial request, Your Honor. If we could just have it till the end of the day. I spoke with the charging prosecutor on this. And if we could just have it until the end of the day before it is unsealed.
All right, the court will order the matter unsealed effective 4 o'clock this afternoon. I don't believe there is any further statutory authority to keep it sealed that I'm aware of. And that again is under 353411.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Anything further from the state?
Let me double check.
Mr. O'Connor, does that cover everything?
Yes.
Yeah, nothing else, Your Honor.
All right.
State versus
So
Ryan.
we'll see Ms. Halsey, we'll see you Thursday at 1 o'clock, or 11 o'clock, I'm sorry.
As of May 20th, 2025, the case remains ongoing, drawing significant public attention across Indiana and throughout the United States. A jury trial has been scheduled, where prosecutors are expected to present all the evidence gathered over more than a year of investigation, from forensic reports and witness testimonies to electronic communications between Toni McClure and her mother, Tammy Halsey. Ryan Smith, Toni's boyfriend, has been temporarily released after posting a $50,000 bond, but remains under strict supervision and is prohibited from leaving the state while awaiting trial. Meanwhile, Toni McClure and Tammy Halsey continue to be held at the Marion County Jail, awaiting their day in court to face judgment for the actions they committed. Kinsleigh was laid to rest in a private, modest, yet deeply emotional ceremony at the Meredith Clark Funeral Home in Morgantown. Family members, relatives, and those who had known the little girl gathered with white flowers, stuffed animals, and silent prayers. At East Hill Cemetery, where Kinsleigh now rests, a black heart-shaped headstone stands amid the green grass, engraved with the words, "Too precious for this world." The stone is adorned with small butterflies, symbols of the freedom and innocence she never had the chance to fully experience. Whenever the wind passes by, the ribbons and wind chimes hanging around her grave gently sing, like the soft whispers of a little angel. Locals often pause for a few moments before her resting place, leaving behind a flower, a small toy, or simply whispering a few tender words. You deserved to be loved. The heartbreaking story of Kinsleigh Welty is not just a case that shocked Indiana and the entire United States, but also a powerful reminder of the responsibility adults hold in protecting the most vulnerable lives. If the system had listened sooner, if those around her had spoken up earlier, perhaps Kinsleigh would still be singing, laughing, and living out her childhood. From this tragedy, we learn that silence can sometimes destroy hope, and that even the smallest act of care can save a life. Thank you for staying until the end of today's story in True Crime Documentary. If you feel compassion for Kinsleigh, please share this video to spread the message of protecting children, and leave a comment in memory of this little angel. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss future true crime documentary episodes. Stories that not only recount tragedy, but also remind us of kindness and justice. See you in the next episode of True Crime Documentary.